Yeah, so, about them there Epstein files. As I saw someone on the internet say, this is one of the rare instances where the sequel is much better than the original, because, woo lad, there has been some wild, spicy stuff in there. And I'm just going to precaution everyone, the main thing you need to know about the Epstein files as they stand is that absolutely everything regarding the case is in there, at least what they were allowed to, actually give out, because apparently they're keeping the really salacious and illegal stuff back, which kind of fair, kind of not. When I say everything, I mean even the overt BS. Like, would it be interesting if the former president, former vice president, and former director of the CIA was ritualistically sacrificing young boys and burying them under a golf course? I'd like to know if that was the case so we could do something about it. The problem is George H.W. Bush is already dead, and two, that was an anonymous tip from probably someone who is schizo, right? So just not real. And half of the stuff that people are sharing online right now, if you don't know where to look, is exactly that. It's the anonymous tips that the FBI took in, maybe investigated if they seemed even a little bit plausible. Found out that the person was high as a kite the entire time and telling them about the repressed memories that their therapist had uncovered, yada yada, no corroborating evidence. And that's what, like, all the really crazy stuff that you're seeing in there is just about. Incidentally, virtually everything that's come out about Trump in the Epstein files has been anonymous tips that they got post 2016, when any crazy person with an axe to grind could call into the FBI and have them chasing their own tail. So look for the emails, look for the pictures. That's where the real good stuff, quote unquote, is. So verify that whatever you see online right now, you're not looking at the anonymous tip stuff. You're looking at this was Epstein emailing this guy, that this was this guy emailing Epstein, etc., or he was in the chain. And just to go over some of the really interesting things that we've figured out, Epstein, it turns out, was not a particularly good economist. Like, he could sound smart, but it mostly came off as surface level to me. And it turns out that there was a guy over in England, Mr. Lord Mendelsohn, I can't remember his first name, told him about the Greek bailout that was going to happen a day before. So Epstein moved some money around and made a killing off of it with shorts and whatnot. So it turns out that Epstein was basically just an inside trader. He wasn't some financial guru, even if people were paying him millions of dollars for financial advice. Most of his financial advice was probably just insider trading. And I don't know where he got his initial seed money, but that is where he probably earned the bulk of his billions, was selling access. And if you look at the tone and tenor, if you will, of all the emails that Epstein was getting, it really just kind of seems that his main skill, more than anything, was schmoozing. Like, the guy was apparently a smooth operator that everyone wanted to be around, and he was very charming, very charismatic, and for whatever reason or however way, he was just connected to everybody to an insane degree. So if you wanted to be connected to people, you needed to be connected to Epstein so he could connect you to those people. Had all sorts of, world leaders, businessmen, and other billionaires, etc., at his beck and call. Incidentally, the one he doesn't seem to have had like an inside line to was Trump, probably because nobody needed one, because unlike Epstein, who was more of a background character in the public eye, like Trump, it just puts his name in giant, bold, golden letters on buildings, right? If you wanted to get a hold of Trump, he was constantly trying to get in front of cameras anyway. So, and he was relatively famous enough, he could probably just let himself into the office whoever he wanted anyway. So he palled around with Epstein in the early days when they were in kind of the same circles, but he never really needed Epstein's services, if you will. And like I said, they're presumably holding back most of the like egregious illegal stuff that Epstein was doing. So we don't really know how accurate, the lurid Alex Jones tier conspiracy theories are, but based on what we now can reasonably say is correct, it appears that the extent of what Epstein was doing was basically just hookers. But if that likely included, underage, therefore trafficked hookers, which is still wood chipper, right? But we really don't have any concrete evidence of him, like, keeping a harem of captive, high school girls on his private island that he was, like, throwing at other world leaders. That probably is a bit of an exaggeration of what the situation is. What more likely seems to be the case is that he was a very bored, hedonistic rich guy whose friends were all bored, hedonistic rich guys, and women sometimes, to be fair, who really don't do a lot of work. They don't do a lot of stuff themselves personally. They delegate a lot of stuff, have a bunch of employees who do all the real pencil pushing. So they get enough money where they just can't really buy standard stuff. They already have their really good car, they have their huge mansion, they have their everything. Man, I'm not getting summoned at all right now. So they start looking for more esoteric pleasures, shall we say, the weird cannibalistic art piece of the spirit cooking or whatever that one lady was putting on, that sort of thing is mentioned. Hey, there we go, just had to complain a little bit. And that probably includes all sorts of prostitutes, which I'm sure, even if they weren't all illegal, underage prostitutes, he probably could figure out a way to get you one. Oh boy, final boss. Kuzhund and Samieru-san. Alright, let's go help a brother out. So yeah, that's basically my read on the Epstein stuff as far as we can tell, is that, Alex Jones and his crew were probably exaggerating the extent of his malevolence. He's still a bad guy, still one of the worst guys, probably not like straight up satanic evil bad. Oh, of course, he interrupts me just long enough. Didn't get his attention. He'll at least be standing in the middle of that for a bit. Oh, why did you already rot him? You need to save that for round 2. And I wasn't able to roll out of that in time. Alright, reset. Well, there's phase 2. Alright, it's going to be a little tough, but we'll see if we can hit him with the rot. Come on, get him over this way. Oh, why do you have to look at me? Oh, that's good. Please survive. See if we can get him to just clip enough of this stuff just often enough that, ow. No, you don't. Oh, he's rotting. That's good. Heal up our buddy there. Go for some DPS. Oh, he's going to try and double up on Samaru. Okay, he's still alive, though. Alright, meteor time. Hey, host survived. Alright, definitely need you to survive, Samaru. There we go. See you later, bud. Alright. Some other wild stuff we saw in the Epstein files. A guy was just involved in everything for the stupidest reasons. We had one picture where he was with a lady with a black square for a face and a bunch of file boxes in the background had CIA logos on them. Weird. He was apparently in an email chain with Bobby Kotick, who was at the time the CEO of Activision, talking about how much, all his advisors and whatnot loved Bobby's idea about indoctrinating kids into an economy with microtransactions. So you don't like microtransactions in your popular yearly release games? Thanks, Jeff. He was on a first-name basis with Christopher Poole, a.k.a. Moot, the guy who made 4chan. And then just like a couple of days after they first met, that's when he made the politics board on 4chan. Which, bet he probably regretted that for reasons. If you know, you know. Just what other things? He was talking with the leaders of India about some stuff. I already mentioned the British guy who basically clued him in on the Greek bailout. All sorts of Hollywood celebrities. I believe Jay-Z and Beyonce have pulled their albums off of Spotify because they're in the Epstein files. Reid Hoffman, who's a major billionaire financier. He's the guy who bankrolled E. Jean Carroll's civil case against Trump. The one that they used to call him a, struggle snuggler, we'll say, because, algorithm. It turns out Reid Hoffman is also implicated in the Epstein files as being chummy with him. Hilariously, Elon tried to be chummy with him and just was so autistically awkward that he could not weasel his way into the cool kids club, to sit at the nice table in the lunchroom, right? So I wonder how much of him going hard on the Epstein files was just sour grapes from the fact that he knew he was not actually implicated in anything wrong in the Epstein files, despite the fact that he was effectively trying to get himself implicated in the Epstein files. So, thank God for autism, I guess, because that's probably the only reason why he's not the absolute villain right now. And I'm sure there's some other stuff, but I think that's really the important things. I'm just going to leave you off with, anytime something like this comes up, always wait a day or two to see, you know, where the dice land, so that you're not getting over your skis. Chances are half the stuff you're going to be seeing, you know, online or even just on the basic news is going to be some level of BS. So double, triple check your sources. That's one of the things that Twitter/X is actually good about, is that if somebody posts some nonsense and it gets enough attention, there will be somebody in the replies who can correct misinformation with sources if need be, even if there isn't a community note. So that's what I'm going to leave it off with. Stay frosty out there.